Throw away because my wife knows my main and my mother still thinks the internet is a church bulletin. Ages: me, 35M. Wife, Ava, 33F. Son, Cal, 7M. We live in a mid-sized American suburb where every cul-de-sac has a name that sounds like a candle, and the HOA cares more about mailbox height than human feelings. If you want the hook up front, here it is. A live photo outed my marriage. Not the picture, the 2 seconds of accidental video Apple tax on like a party favor. Ava sent a cute snap from girls' night. A martini glass with a lime floating like a lazy astronaut. I pressed and held because our kid showed me once that live photos move like magic. The image blinked to video and, in the soft lobby echo, a man's voice said, "Welcome to Maple Ridge Inn. Porter, room 319. My last name is Porter." The drink didn't move. The ground did. I watched it again. And again because brains are slow when hearts sprint. Same 2 seconds, same bellhop voice. I didn't want to be the guy who CSIs a cocktail, but here we were. If you ever want a masterclass in denial, watch a grown man argue with a phone. Maybe they hosted girls' night in a hotel lobby. Maybe she was picking up a friend who'd had too much. Maybe the audio was weird. Maybe. Meanwhile, the neon sign from the window reflection spelled MAPL before the frame cut. My stomach read the rest just fine. Ava had left at 7:30 p.m. in sneakers and a denim jacket. "Maya needs me," she said, kissing my temple, peppermint gum and hairspray colliding like a memory from 2010. Cal and I built a Lego spaceship until he collapsed on the couch in a position chiropractors use in slideshows. I sent Ava a have fun with a spaceship emoji. She heart reacted. At 9:12 p.m. the live photo arrived with Maya 1 trivia and confetti emojis. If you're keeping score at home, my wife doesn't do trivia, Maya doesn't drink martinis, and Maple Ridge Inn does not host girls' night unless your friend group includes housekeeping. I did not drive there. I did what people in movies never do. I put the kid to bed, loaded the dishwasher, and let my insides argue it out while our machine hummed a noise that sounded like a decision I hadn't made yet. At 10:43, the dishwasher beeped. I opened the door and a wave of steam hit me like a warm, damp truth. I closed it and let the plates cool. I fell asleep on the couch with the TV asking me if I was still watching like a friend who wants to help but doesn't know how. Morning had the audacity to continue. I made pancakes in the shape of animals that would not pass peer review with any biologist. Ava came down in joggers and a messy bun that looked morally clean. "Girls' night was good?" I asked, my voice trying to pass as casual. "So good," she said. "Maya's finally leaving Chad. We made her a packing playlist." She kissed Cal's hair, my cheek. I smelled hotel soap, the kind that insists it's fig and feels like intent. I work in ops. My job is spotting patterns and making them less chaotic. I didn't snoop. I did the thing I do for a living directed at my own life. Step 1, the photo details. If you swipe up on a live photo, it shows a little map. The dot pulsed over Maple Ridge Inn. Step 2, the family credit card feed. There it was, 2 charges, small enough to be deniable. Sprig and Vine $18.92. That's the lobby bar. Maple Ridge parking, $8.00. Step 3, our car app. It logs sentry events and location. At 9:06 p.m. the car's cameras caught 2 people walking past the hood with a rolling suitcase. The file labeled lobby because the front sensor tripped when she parked. I'd forgotten I'd turned that feature on. I sat in my truck at lunch and tried to swallow air without choking. Then I did what the internet always says and almost nobody does in time. I made 3 calls. Doctor, tests, because dignity shouldn't cost your health. Therapist, because I'm a human, not a detective. And a lawyer consult, because there's a difference between a tantrum and a plan. The lawyer, a woman named James with a voice like a good podcast, said, "Document what you see, not what you think. Don't confront when your kid's present. Don't call the other person. Decide what you need if the answer is yes, and what you'll do if the answer is no." At 5:17 p.m. I texted Ava, "Can we talk tonight? Library, neutral ground." She replied with a thumbs up and then, "Is everything okay?" which is a mean little question because it demands a lie or a thesis. I wrote, "We'll talk." Cal asked if we could get pizza. We got pizza. He fell asleep mid-slice, pepperoni on his shirt like a badge of honor. The library smells like paper decisions. We sat in the little courtyard where high school kids pretend to study and everyone whispers because plants are listening. I put my phone on the table and pressed the live photo. We listened to the 2 seconds. The bellhop's voice said my last name again. Cheerful like betrayal has a loyalty program. Ava's eyes flicked from the screen to me and did the math. She didn't cry. She did that thing where you pinch the bridge of your nose like you can pause yourself. "It's not," she started. "Please don't say it's not what you think," I said politely. "Because the lobby guy just said my name to your drink." She exhaled. "There's someone," she said, "from the gym." It started with spotting weights and turned into spotting excuses. She looked small in a way she hates. I felt seen. "Are you in love?" I asked, and my voice didn't crack because it trained for this moment in nightmares. "I don't know. No, I don't know," she said. "I am in a fog that feels like clarity until it doesn't." "Did you sleep with him?" She nodded like I'd asked if she wanted water. "Do you want to be married to me?" I asked. "Or do you want to be married to the version of yourself that only exists in lobby lighting?" That made her wince. "I want our family," she said. "I don't know how to stop wanting the feeling." I pulled a folded paper from my pocket because I am my father's son and because the lawyer told me to have a list so pain doesn't do the talking. "If we try," I said, "here's what I need. A written timeline so we stop stepping on surprises. Full transparency about devices/locations that affect our kid. Not your thoughts. No contact with a message we write together and send together. Individual therapy for both of us. Couples only if the first 3 happen. A separation plan if any of this breaks." I put the paper down like a treaty. She read it. She looked relieved and nauseous. "Okay," she said. "Okay." That night, after Cal fell asleep in a pile of plush dinosaurs with names, we sat at the kitchen table and workshopped a goodbye text to a person I had not met and already disliked in a normal human way. We wrote, "This is wrong. I'm choosing my marriage and my family. Do not contact me again." She sent it. He replied with "I understand," and a prayer hands emoji that made me want to unsubscribe from Hands. She blocked him. She gave me passwords to the things we share: calendar, card, home devices. I didn't ask for her notes app or her soul. We went to bed and lay very still like 2 people trying not to wake a dog with big teeth. Days passed in slow minutes. Ava started therapy with a woman who wears linen and tells the truth like a nurse. I went to mine and learned how to breathe without narrating it. We did the timeline. It was boring and awful in equal measure. Parking lots, texts that didn't look like poetry and felt like dynamite. The first time she said, "I can't stop thinking about you." The second time she said, "I hate myself." The hotel had free fruit in the lobby. She mentioned that like it mattered, and maybe it did because details are how our brains prove the thing is real. For 19 days, our house sounded like a place where adults live. We parented well. We high-fived at the door. We bought a chart with magnets to show Cal which house on which day would host which dinosaur. We started to sleep like people who remember how. I repaired the dishwasher latch. I made a budget that didn't assume a future it couldn't promise. On day 20, the doorbell rang at 10:06 p.m. 3 quick chimes, the way a neighbor might if they want to borrow sugar. I checked the Ring app and saw a shape I didn't know. A man in a ball cap doing a dance like he couldn't commit to the porch or the sidewalk. He didn't ring again. He put an envelope under the mat and left. I waited. Ava was in the shower. I went outside half expecting a campaign flyer. It was a note in block letters. "If you're her husband, I'm sorry." She said it was over. My name is on the mailbox. Our house isn't that big. The letter smelled like beer and climate control. When Ava came down in a robe and saw me at the table with the envelope, she went very still. "He came here?" she asked, a little whisper and a little curse. "I guess blocking works until it doesn't," I said. "Call the lawyer or the police, or we start with boundaries and hope." We wrote him a second message from my phone. because adults can make unfun calls. Do not come to our home. This is harassment. Any further contact goes to law enforcement. Then we blocked him there too and moved the conversation to professionals. The lawyer wrote a letter with words that sound like they can carry heavy boxes. The therapist wrote us a plan for what to do when ghosts knock on your door. You don't let them in. You don't pretend you don't hear them. You log the time and you move on. A week later, we were humming again. Then the relapse didn't look like a movie. It looked like a Starbucks receipt at 10:48 p.m. Near Maple Ridge, a walk around the block that took 90 minutes. A Sentry clip with a familiar backpack reflection in the rear window of a car that wasn't ours. I printed the receipt and put it on the fridge with Idaho. I didn't make a speech. I made spaghetti for Cal and answered his question about whether Triceratops could sit in chairs. No. But he drew one doing it anyway. Ava came home at 11:32 p.m. Hair wet from rain that might have been a shower. She saw the paper, saw me, looked at the sink like it might offer help. I met him to tell him never again, she said, which is a sentence that works better in theory than geography. I wanted to prove to myself it meant nothing. You don't test heaters with gasoline, I said, not unkindly. Our kid needs us boring. I need me boring. I can't keep my hands on a wheel you're turning with someone else. We initiated the separation plan like a fire drill we hoped we'd never need. Alternating days, drop-offs at the library, money in a spreadsheet that didn't flinch, a schedule on the fridge that made it feel like we were running a restaurant for one patient customer. We told Cal on the living room rug with language a therapist handed us. 2 houses, same parents. You didn't cause this. You can't fix it. You're loved the size of outer space. He asked if both houses have waffles. We said yes so fast we laughed and then didn't. The guest room taught me the noises of my house I hadn't met yet. The heater goes poo at 2:11 a.m. Like it's clearing its throat. The streetlight paints a rectangle that travels up the wall like a slow elevator. I put my ring in a dish with 2 Lego swords and then put it back on 2 days later because the pale circle on my finger looked like a small moon and I didn't know whether I was supposed to be an astronaut or an astronomer. I started running badly and consistently. I named my route after feelings. Acceptance Court, Anger Way, Bargaining Loop. Depression Drive was a cul-de-sac I tried not to turn into. Hope Lane had speed bumps that made my teeth click. I saw him once. Not at the inn. At a Kroger buying spinach like repentance. We locked eyes for half a second. He nodded a nod that says I know I'm the villain in your movie and I agree. I grabbed a jar of marinara like it was a choice. I paid and left and my hands shook just enough to make the plastic bag sound like rain. We did the paperwork. Mediators take your feelings and feed them through a shredder that prints out forms. Equitable distribution. Holiday rotation. Right of first refusal. I learned you can sign your name so many times it looks like a logo you don't endorse. We set rules like guardrails and practice kindness in public because our kid is always watching even when he's not looking. My father appeared with a toolbox and fixed the rattling vent because dads attack chaos with hardware. My mother brought a lasagna and 3 unsolicited prayers you can't return without a receipt. On my nights alone, I cooked too much for one person and texted photos of steaks to my friend Ben who replied, "Good seer," like a priest giving last rites. I joined a men's group in a church basement where the coffee tastes like courage and we talked about things fathers teach their sons and things we learned anyway. An older guy named Walt said, "You're not failing at love, you're graduating from a class that ended." And I wrote it down on a napkin because sometimes wisdom arrives in paper cups. Ava's therapist suggested a full disclosure session. Structured, witnessed, no trickle truth. Ours concurred. We booked it like a dentist appointment for souls. 2 couches, 2 therapists, 1 box of tissues doing the Lord's work. Ava read. Dates and places fell like nails hitting a jar. Sprig and Vine. Room 319. The first lie. Maya had a flat tire. The first, I'm so sorry. The last, I can't do this. Not graphic, just precise. The part that stuck wasn't the hotel. It was a line about me. He is kind, and I resented that he made it look easy. I sat with that like a stone in my shoe. After, we walked to separate cars and somehow to the same taco truck. We ate standing up because chairs felt too committed. Do you hate me? She asked. I'm trying not to make hatred a hobby, I said. We threw our napkins away like a ceremony. There were wins. Cal learned to whistle. I fixed the dishwasher latch on the first try. I negotiated for fewer travel days at work because Thursdays are spelling tests and I want to run a better offense for a second grader. My boss said, "Good boundaries." Like he'd been waiting to say that to someone. Ava and I learned to do exchanges at the library because librarians are better referees than parking lots. We learned to wave at each other like neighbors who know the trash schedule. There were losses. The first holiday apart hit like a pothole everyone saw and couldn't avoid. We split Thanksgiving by hours, not days. Parade and cinnamon rolls with me? Cal watched floats with the reverence of a small god. Turkey with Ava's family. She texted a picture of Cal asleep on a pile of cousins. I took a long walk after drop-off and ended up at a park where an old guy flew a kite with expertise that made me emotional in ways I can't explain. I texted Ben, "I want my life to be a kite and not a drone." He wrote, "Wind is free." Somewhere in the middle of winter, M emailed from a burner account with a subject line, "Closure." I forwarded it to the lawyer and therapist and then deleted it like mold. The lawyer sent a letter with a tone that could hold a building upright. He didn't email again. We installed a floodlight by the porch. It comes on now when raccoons make their little raccoon choices. Cal named one of them Captain Trash. Spring brought the kind of hope that makes you suspicious. I doubled down on boring habits. I labeled pantry containers like a person who believes in flour. I planted a sad tomato that became a decent tomato with the patience of a monk. Cal started baseball. I became a dad who cares about small people running the right direction. At one game, the other team's coach yelled at a 7-year-old and I felt a wild urge to adopt the entire league. Ava stood beside me in a lawn chair and said, "We did not sign a consent form for that tone." And we laughed like people who still get each other's jokes on layaway. The divorce decree arrived on a Tuesday with an email subject that used the word "final" like a cliff. We signed the last papers in a room with a potted plant that had done its time. We walked outside and looked at each other like co-workers after a long offsite. "We did the best we could," she said. "Not always at the right time," I said. We both nodded. I went home and made waffles because rituals are contracts you write with yourself. Life got smaller in the best way. I knew which drawer the tape lived in. I knew which light switch controls the weird outlet by the couch. I knew which day to take the trash out without checking the app. I learned that loneliness and solitude are different animals, and I learned how to feed the right one. I read books with spines uncracked since college. Cal learned the word exoskeleton and said it like a spell. We visited my parents and my mom taught him to make pancakes in the shape of letters. He spelled dad and asked if we could eat the D together. Ava started seeing someone steady, Evan, a physical therapist with the demeanor of a human foam roller. She told me before Cal could. We met on a porch under string lights because America issues those with leases now. He shook my hand with respect for bones that have been through things. Cal likes him because he can whistle with 2 fingers and knows dinosaur facts. My ribs braced for jealousy and then didn't. My job is to be the weather that helps my kid grow. Bad weather happens. I don't have to schedule it. We sold the couch we bought the year we married. A man named Stan with forearms like branches showed up with a truck and said, "Good couches shouldn't have to hold bad memories," which is either a line he uses or the truest sentence I've heard from a stranger. I replaced it with something plain and long. Cal launched himself onto it like a small astronaut and declared it approved. I wrote "It passes" on a sticky note and stuck it to the underside of the coffee table for no one to find but me. There was one more ghost. I was at a gas station late, buying emergency milk like a sitcom dad, when I saw the Maple Ridge sign blinking in the distance. My feet moved before my brain made a decision. I drove there and parked across the street, a tourist at a ruin I built with someone else's plans. I sat for 4 minutes and felt absolutely nothing happen. Then I drove home and poured milk into a bowl of cereal and ate it standing up over the sink because sometimes being ordinary is an achievement. The live photo lives in my phone somewhere, backed up to the cloud where old pain goes to nap. Sometimes I think about deleting it. Sometimes I think about keeping it as a souvenir from a country I don't live in anymore. I haven't decided yet, and that's okay. Not deciding is also a decision when the stakes are memory. If you're reading because your chest recognized itself in my first paragraph, here's the inventory I wish someone had handed me in a grocery aisle the night everything tilted. Believe the small evidence the first time. It's trying to make you a bargain. You can hurt now and plan, or you can hurt later and scramble. Call a doctor because biology doesn't respect dignity. Call a lawyer if only for one consult, because threats and plans sound the same until paper enters the chat. Call a therapist before you call the other guy. Your anger deserves a trained adult. Write a list of what you need and carry it like ID. No contact is a project with chores. Block, letter, move, log. Don't turn your kid into a courier of feelings you should ship yourself. Be aggressively boring while you heal. Boring is where the good stuff hides. I'm okay. Not Instagram okay. Tuesday okay. The kind of okay where I know which dinosaur sleeps at my house and which sleeps at Ava's, and I don't correct Cal when he says they miss each other because maybe they do. The kind where I can press a live photo and it moves and so do I, and it's not a trap. It's just proof I'm still here. A year after the live photo, we went to Cal's school art night. The hallway smelled like glue sticks and ambition. He pulled us by hands in opposite arms, a parent each, to show a crayon portrait labeled My Family. There were 3 figures holding a banner that read, 2 houses 1 team. Letters blocky and brave. I looked at Ava and she looked at me and we both nodded like a decision we didn't make turned out to be the right one anyway. Later, when the kid had melted into sleep and the house was a ship in a quiet sea, I opened my Photos app and scrolled. The live photo was still there, so I pressed and watched the drink flash alive, the bellhop say my name, the lobby hum. Then I let my finger go. The picture froze back to stillness, and this time the ground didn't move. I did. I turned off the kitchen light, checked the locks, and set the coffee for morning because I had spelling words to quiz and a field to line and waffles to make. And that, God help me, is enough. Months kept happening. I learned to stop narrating my pain into plot points and let it be Tuesdays and Thursdays. I learned which store sells the only crackers Cal will tolerate in his lunchbox and which highway exit has a gas station with a bathroom a 7-year-old can survive. I learned that the dog at the end of our street answers to everyone and no one, and that petting him counts as meditation if you close your eyes and let the fur be a coastline your hand can walk. I went on a date eventually. I did not mean to. A friend of a friend invited a group to a minor league baseball game and one of the seats next to me kept being occupied by the same laugh. Her name is Lila. She can parallel park like a show-off and eats nachos with a fork because she has self-respect. We talked over 7 innings about siblings and picture books and how people think closure is a door when it's actually a habit. She asked if I was ready to date. I said probably not, but I like seats that face the field. We tried 3 dinners, 2 awkward sidewalk goodnights, 1 kiss that felt like a room with windows. Then we decided I'm still in renovations and she deserves better acoustics. We left the door unlocked for later, which is a metaphor that will get me fined by the HOA. Cal made a map of our neighborhood with markers on the cul-de-sacs that throw the best Halloween candy. He put a star on Maple Ridge because I told him once that place had a pool that used to be fancy. He asked if we could go swim there. I said hotels are for sleeping, not swimming, and he said, that's factually incorrect, because he's 7 and has discovered the word, actually. We went to the public pool. It smelled like childhood and chlorine and sudden confidence. He jumped from the low board in a pose that made him look like a comet anyone could wish upon. Ava and I learned a new skill I didn't know existed: de-escalation by calendar. When the holiday schedules looked like a spiderweb, we opened a shared dock and moved boxes around until the spider looked like a snowflake. We traded morning for evening, swapped a Tuesday for a Sunday, promised the kid 2 Christmas trees and delivered 1 good one with excellent hot chocolate. At my place, we decorated with ornaments that know my stories. At hers, the tree stood in the window like a lighthouse. Cal solved the problem by declaring both the official tree. The truth can be generous when you let it. Ben remarried in a backyard that smelled like apples and confidence. I stood up there and gave a toast about second drafts that didn't make a liar of me. After, a guy I barely know said, "You sound like someone who didn't die." And I said, "I didn't." We laughed in the exact same pitch, which felt like a choir for 2. I found the note M left under our mat a lifetime ago stuffed in the folder with the lawyer's letters. I didn't reread it. I shredded it with the same small satisfaction you get from popping bubble wrap. Then I shredded the shredder receipt because I am now a person who cares about chain of custody for my own peace. I slept better that night than my mattress deserved. If you need a moral and won't leave without one, take this. Pay attention in the small way, not the frantic way. The frantic way breaks plates. The small way saves your feet. Press the photo. Listen to the 2 seconds. Believe the voice. Believe your own. Then build a life that doesn't need evidence to feel true. That's what I'm doing. Slowly. Badly sometimes. Faithfully most days. And if all I have to show for it is a kid who sleeps hard and laughs loud, a calendar that doesn't lie, and a waffle iron that earns its keep, I'll take it. I will take it and call it by its beautiful name. Enough.